Today is World Humanitarian Day. Now, for many of us, when we think of humanitarianism, we can think of the extraordinary efforts of individuals in conflict or disaster-ravaged countries.
However, remarkable humanitarian efforts are also happening much closer to home. Emelda Davis is the president of the Australian South Sea Islanders, and she's here to tell us more about her work. Good morning to you, Emelda. Wonderful to have you on the program. And of course, I will note that we do have a family connection in the family tree there somewhere. So I have a little bit of an understanding of the work you do, and of course, your role within the South Sea Islander community. So wonderful to have you here, because I think that's part of your role, isn't it? Not just in terms of the humanitarian effort, but awareness raising, that's a critical part too, isn't it?
It is critical, especially to this shared history that we have here in Australia. And the story of Australian South Sea Islanders is an untold history. It's not as prominent in the education system. So we continue the legacy in bringing that to the forefront of for the Australian narrative.
Yeah, let's put this in context. Can you tell us a bit about your family history?
Sure. My grandfather, Moses Tapaya Nares, was taken off the island of Tana in Vanuatu, and there were 60-odd thousand that were brought to Australia as a part of the blackbird trade. But interestingly enough, this year marks 170 years since Benjamin Boyd brought the first lot of Melanesian labourers to New South Wales, and also it marks 110 years since the White Australia policy deported some 7,000 Melanesians back to the respective islands.
So, I mean, they were essentially brought to Australia as slaves?
Yes, that's right. Brought here as slaves and worked endlessly in the sugarcane, pastoral and maritime industries. But also Aboriginal Protection Acts absorbed the labourers underneath, missions, stations, plantations. So we have an evident kinship there with Indigenous Australia. So yeah, it's unpacking the history for our mob, and making sure that it's recognised, commemorated and celebrated, because it is rich, it is diverse and it is quite complex. So we're here to ensure that we continue the legacy that come out of the Tweed in particular, with leaders such as Faith Bandler, Phyllis Corowa, the Tweed South Sea Islander organisation continuing after 40 years existence, headed up by Fiona and Lance Skinner. And it's a struggle, but we're finding more and more collaborative processes are getting a greater understanding for our people, and people are coming on board. It's okay, it's not about blame, it's about acknowledgement. We all want to know where we come from.
So for you, how would you encapsulate the humanitarianism that you practice? Because many of us would associate it with, giving to those in need in, say, conflict zones, for instance. But for you, how would you describe what you do?
It is about a consciousness around human rights. And I think it's, for me, I sort of approach life in a way where we think about how we want to be treated as human beings and people in need. Humanitarianism is something that we can all do a bit better in areas of support, and you find that a lot of these women that are in our communities head up and support in times of need, especially with international work. Working with ActionAid Australia has really supported the Australian South Sea Islander struggle in reconnecting with Vanuatu, and we went over there and delivered 6 40-foot high cube containers with Cyclone Pam atrocity occurred, and worked with the women on the ground over there on the different stations throughout the islands, and Rainbow Warrior came on board and assisted with distribution, working with grassroots communities. So it really is about a consciousness, and women are first responders in a lot of cases, and the nurturers of families. So we have this natural ability to, bring it all together.
Do you get frustrated, perhaps, at the lack of attention among the South Pacific Islands, given obviously what we see going on around the world, and perhaps Australia is a bit guilty of neglecting its own neighbourhood?
Yeah, I think, given the contribution that our Pacific families have given or made to Australia, as being, a significant force in economic stability and the workforce, we go undermined. And I think it's really important that there's more consciousness around the inclusion and understanding of this diverse community, because when you have a greater understanding, you know, we get on harmoniously with what's going on in our own backyard. And I think, you know, charity starts at home. So I think that we need to make a bit more effort to be a bit more inclusive and understand the dynamics of this multicultural society that we live in. You know, it's a great country, and we all want to take a stand and be recognised within that country. So.
And we also have concerns around how the community, the South Pacific community, is being treated today, aren't we, in terms of workers who are coming to Australia currently. There are also issues today that you've been raising awareness there.
Yes, Australian South Sea Islanders, Port Jackson, have put in recommendations to the government in relation to the Modern Slavery Act. When you look at this, slavery, I mean, we can tag it, dress it up however you like, but it's, you know, the abuse of a human rights for a person who's being controlled by somebody else. So we've put in recommendations to please consider our past, please consider the policies that informed the blackbird trade, that informed, you know, the rights of Indigenous peoples or neglected, and please take heed from that and work with us. Let's make this better for our peoples. And Vanuatu and other Pacific Islands have suffered. People have died as a part of the seasonal workers scheme, and you know, we can't forget that. We need to continue to work together.
Amazing, wonderful work,
Thank
Emelda
you.
Davis. Thank you very much
really
for speaking
appreciate
with us.
it.